Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name's Prash. I'm a doctor working in the UK's National Health Service, and in this video, I'm going to be answering some of your guys' questions about medicine, business, entrepreneurship, and just life in general. So to give you a little bit of context around this, a couple of weeks ago, I hit 10,000 followers on Instagram, which is just absolutely mental because I haven't really been posting on it for that long, so thank you very, very much. I put a story out on my Instagram asking you guys to DM me in some questions about anything you wanted to know, and to be honest, I just thought it'd be a good opportunity for us to get to know each other a little bit better. So I've got my laptop with me and I'm going to go through and pick out a couple of those questions now. They're all going to be timestamped below, so please feel free to skip to any of the parts of the video that you think you might find most useful, or just skip the entire video. But yeah, we're pretty much going to be freestyling this video because it's like 9:30 PM and it's been a super busy day, but do you know what, we're committed to the YouTube grind. Anyway, let's see how it goes. Let's pick out a couple of these. So where should we start? Let's have a look. Do you know what, let's just go straight into the deep end. Do you enjoy working as a doctor? Do you know what, yes and no. There is no simple clear-cut answer to this question. So do you enjoy working as a doctor? I think yes, I enjoy the fact that I'm in a profession where you genuinely get to care for some of the most vulnerable people in society, and they come into you, whether it's in your little clinic room or you're in the hospital, on the wards, wherever you are. They might have lost somebody, they might have lost a relative or a parent or a friend, or they might have, you know, some sort of underlying anxiety, they might have really complex kind of past medical background, and they're coming to you for maybe some reassurance or some guidance or some support or whatever it is. I genuinely feel like we're in a profession where you can make an impact and a difference on so many lives, and I think that shouldn't really be taken for granted. The flip side to that, and there's always two sides to every coin, I think there's a lot of negatives working as a doctor in the UK. I think some of these issues are like multi-professional, so not just in medicine, they are in other kind of sectors as well. I think these things for me at the moment are my kind of like biggest reasons for not enjoying working as a doctor. And I think firstly, you are kind of treated like a bit of a kid, and there's this massive hierarchy. And do you know what, it's probably in lots of other professions, but like, come on, give me a break. I've trained for like 6 years at medical school. My postgraduate training is going to be anywhere from 3 to 10 years plus. I think generally you deserve a little bit of respect and autonomy, and I don't think we're always given that. And it's not even like a hierarchy in a way where, you know, it's meaningful. Pay is an obvious one and people know it, but you know what, it's a public funded system, so as long as it remains in that way, it's unlikely to change dramatically. There's a whole bunch of stuff I could probably say about the negative aspects of being a doctor, but I think, you know what, we might come back to this question and go into this a little bit deeper, so hold that thought. Anyway, question 2, what's your medical journey? So I've spoken about this so many times, I'm not going to go into this and answer it. I've got a whole video on this on my channel talking about my entire journey from medical school in Bulgaria to then finding my feet in the NHS and then transitioning into the private sector. So if you're interested in my kind of like medical journey or my career journey, go and check out that video. What was it like studying medicine in Bulgaria, and would you still recommend studying in Eastern Europe? Ooh, would I still recommend studying medicine in Eastern Europe? So let me answer the first part of this question first. What was it like studying medicine in Bulgaria? So I did it probably over a decade ago now, so in a very different job market and a very different kind of, you know, setup completely. And it was amazing. It was one of the best experiences I've had. I think studying just generally in a different country, not just medicine, but going studying abroad, away somewhere, is a fantastic kind of development career opportunity, which if you are in that position, regardless of what sector you're in, you should 100% grasp that opportunity. For medicine specifically, would I recommend studying medicine in Eastern Europe now? I honestly don't know, and that's really sad because it's a subject very close to my heart, but I have to be really honest and say that, you know what, although you will have an amazing time, you'll get to spend time in a different culture, you'll get to learn a different language, you'll get to travel around Europe, you'll just have the most amazing time, you'll meet people from all over the world, you'll make friends across the globe. That network alone is priceless. Would I still recommend studying medicine in Europe? I think the answer at the moment as it stands is going to be no. Specifically with medicine, there's a huge expansion of undergraduate medicine in the UK. Don't quote me on the numbers on this anymore, but I think by 2030 they're looking at doubling the number of medical school places from, you know, 7,500 up to like 15,000. So by 2030, in the next 5 years, there's going to be double the number of medical graduates qualifying in the UK. Now, there's already a huge bottleneck for training and just kind of like getting your foot into the UK, it's not uncommon for an NHS organisation or a trust to receive over 1,000 applications for one like FY1, FY2, SHO level role. The level of competition is already so high, there's already a preference to UK trained graduates, and that preference is going to increase. You know, if you're studying medicine abroad, you have to really, really want it. Like, that has to be the only thing you can see yourself doing, which at the age of 18, I just don't know how you can make such a big decision, because I didn't know, you know, I don't really know what I was doing. I picked a degree which I thought would be good. It's something that I wanted to do at the time. I kind of like sciences. I like doing like biology and chemistry and all that kind of stuff. So I went with a subject that I enjoyed. I just think you can't make a decision on, I really want to do medicine. Imagine you spend 6 years studying medicine in a different country with the hope that you're going to kind of walk into a job in the UK now, and it's just not going to happen. The reality is that the level of competition and the need is just not there. It's wrong to say the UK doesn't need doctors, because you need doctors everywhere. But the UK does not need F1 and F2 level doctors. It just doesn't. When you study medicine abroad in Bulgaria, you finish at that kind of F1, F2 level. You need to get your foot into the door in that very, very junior level. But we can see in the UK they're doubling the number of that entry level position. It just means that the NHS doesn't need you. What it needs is actually more kind of like mid-level registrar, seniors, going up that kind of decision-making ladder. So as sad as it is, I don't think I would recommend anybody go and study medicine abroad. I would recommend you go and do dentistry, because when you finish dental school, one of the biggest advantages you have is that you are already specialised. Like, if you don't do anything else, like you don't go and do like your diplomas in restorative dentistry or whatever, like if you just want to practice as a general dentist, you're going to do really well for yourself, you're going to be in a pretty good job. There's a huge need for dentists in the UK. The biggest advantage you have compared to a medical degree is that you are already specialised. So at the point of graduating, you don't then need to go into another, you know, 3 to 10 years of postgraduate studies to try and become a consultant. You are done. You are the specialist. So I would 100% recommend, if you are to go abroad and you're really interested in kind of like medicine or dentistry, you're torn between those, pick dentistry. But I don't know if I would recommend studying medicine anywhere abroad at the moment. This question is from somebody who is a UK national, I'm assuming anyway, from their Instagram. And this is a kind of like a UK national who wants to go and study medicine abroad with the hope of coming back, and I just don't think I can underwrite that right now. Next question, let's go with, okay, did you ever consider dropping out of university? So nope, I never considered dropping out of university, but since we've just had this big spiel about picking dentistry at, you know, if you're going to go study whatever abroad, in my third year of medicine in Bulgaria, so we had the option of switching to dentistry. So if you completed your first 3 years and you passed all your exams, the university gave you the option of putting yourself forward to go and switch to the dental course, well, because the curriculum kind of overlapped at the university I was at, so that the dentists did everything the medics did, as well as the kind of like a few dental subjects. So I never considered dropping out, but in my third year, me and one of my boys, who may or may not ever watch these videos, we sat down and had a very, very serious conversation about switching to dentistry from medicine. And you know what? I obviously wasn't thinking straight, because I stuck with medicine. What speciality would you choose if you had to switch? For those of you who don't know, I'm currently training to become a GP in the NHS, and as it stands right now, with my kind of portfolio career, my family, everything else that I'm doing in business and kind of the corporate sector, I would not switch to any speciality at all. This is the perfect speciality for me. It offers me the greatest degree of flexibility out of pretty much all of the other careers for me personally. I think to kind of entertain this question, I didn't have anything else kind of going on, so on the side, so any of these kind of entrepreneurial things or leadership, corporate sector, blah, 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 and it was all medicine, and I was focusing and honing in just on medicine. I would have probably been a cardiac surgeon. During medical school, that is all I wanted to do. I was like all for surgery, and what I did was do something called clinical attachments, which is basically like work experience in the UK, and I did pretty much all of these in cardiac surgery. So I did adult and congenital cardiac surgery, and I kind of go into like congenital cardiac theatre, and these are like tiny babies. I mean, like this big. There was this like just magician who would be operating on these, you know, children with really serious conditions, being something called a Fontan procedure during one of my clinical attachments, and I was in there for hours kind of watching this artist at work. You know, it was just insane, and I was in love with the speciality, but kind of saw the lifestyle of the surgeons, and it was very much, you had to be at the top of your game, all invested into surgery. Few of them had families or kind of like lives outside of medicine, like they were all in it for this, you know, and do you know what, you kind of have to be. I think sometimes there's this myth around work-life balance, and I've always kind of disagreed with this. I think it's a load of nonsense, to be honest, but I just don't think work-life balance exists all the time. I really want to be at the top of the game. It's very hard to have work-life balance, and certainly these surgeons were just, you know, so invested into their craft that they didn't really have any of these other buckets filled, and that really put me off going down the surgery route. It was still really early days, but I think that put me off. But if I had to switch, it would be surgery. But at the moment, with everything else going on, probably would never switch out of general practice. Why are you posting more on social media? Do you know what? I like that question. I think that's a great question, and you know who you are who's asked that question. So if you followed any of my kind of story or journey on social media, you'll know that I built a business and I won Young Entrepreneur of the Year. I've kind of been in the entrepreneurship space. What I really found interesting and exciting from the entrepreneurship side of things compared to medicine is the impact you can have is on a much broader scale. Imagine the influence and impact you can have at scale through social media. So I think this is kind of like entrepreneurial side of things to it, which is like the impact you can have and sharing knowledge and dissemination of the journey, and this kind of unconventional journey of going to studying medicine abroad and landing in the NHS and doing all these other things. So being able to share that. But I think the kind of more business decision or choice around this is everything I've learned about growing a business, why not invest that into my personal brand? We live in a day and age where a personal brand is just so important. You might have the best ideas in the world, or you might have this like entrepreneurial flair and like these things that you want to do, but if nobody knows about it, I mean, you're not going to get very far. So I think having a personal brand in this era is really important. I think the opportunities of posting on socials is just limitless. So it's like a bit of a test, stepping out of my comfort zone, because this is not something that I would have ever thought I'd be doing at like 10 o'clock at night, talking to a camera, posting on YouTube. But do you know what? We're going to see where it goes. How did you get into business? Great question. So honestly, I didn't plan for this. It kind of just was something that fell onto me. There was a problem or a challenge that I was facing. All I was trying to do is solve that problem for myself. And then in doing so, I realized that, hold on, there's thousands of other people who also have the same problem. If I can solve this for myself, I can also solve it for them. So that's kind of how the business started. And it was all about finding a solution to an unmet challenge, really, when you kind of strip everything else away. But I'll probably do a video on that at some point. I'm not going to go into that too much into this. Let's pick another question. So what are the best, this is a good question. So what are the best side hustles for medical students? So do you know what, I'm probably going to do a video on this. I see a lot of YouTubers doing videos on side hustles, but nobody really is doing what are the skills you need to build any side hustle. I feel like there's no point just coming out with a whole list of, okay, these are like A to Z side hustles you can build, because I've just Googled or ChatGPT what are the best side hustles. What about the actual skills from experience to build any side hustles? At some point I'll probably do a video on that, so stay tuned. How do you handle rejection? I'm assuming from this question you mean like you've applied for a job and you haven't really been successful, you're getting rejected from job applications, or maybe, I don't know, maybe you're trying to date and you've been rejected. If that's the case, I'm sorry, dude. But what I would do if it is a job you're applying for and you're being rejected from that, I think you need to take a bit of time to reflect on the things that have gone well, but also the things that haven't quite gone well, and really sit down and kind of journal, maybe ask for some feedback. Relating to jobs specifically, something that I've been doing only for like the last 12 months, I actively apply for jobs where I think I'm going to get rejected. I will sit down and I will send off an application for like really senior level jobs, like, and the person on the other end is probably thinking like, this guy has the audacity to send off this application, but I will do it anyway. And it's like a deliberate thing that I've been doing. It's actually one of my mentors who told me about this. It's like exposure therapy in like behavioral science. You expose yourself to a certain condition where you then gradually become desensitized to like this fear of that outcome. It's almost like you get over the fact that you're going to apply for something and get rejected. So this is something that I've been doing anyway. It works for me and it's great because you'll often get a little bit of feedback of where you can improve, and that kind of boosts you up to the next step. My laptop is literally about to die, so we're going to have to speed this up a little bit. What's one habit that changed your life? Very deep for 10 p.m. at night. You hear this all the time, consistency is key, but genuinely like learning how to show up day after day, even when you don't want to. I mean, like today, it's 10 p.m. I really don't want to be doing this. I'd be much happier sitting in bed with a hot chocolate or whatever, just showing up day after day because you've told yourself you're going to do something that is a really powerful skill. I think if you can learn consistency and build systems that help you with that, it's truly a life-changing skill. What's your morning routine like? So I'm not going to waffle on this one too much and pretend that I wake up at like 4 a.m. and do all these push-ups and stuff, because that's just not true. I'll probably wake up around 5:30ish, and that's again not by choice. That's because I've got a ridiculously long commute to work. So I'll be up early generally in the morning, but then what I will do is sit in bed like an absolute waste man, snooze my alarm, probably just scroll on my phone for a little bit, and then once I've semi-woken up, I will then kind of flick through my calendar, see what I need to do for the day, have a look at my email, see if anything's come in from the night before that I need to action straight away, so I'll do that, and then kind of like slowly get ready, shower, brush. I've got this thing where I can't do anything until I've brushed and showered, so I literally will not go downstairs until I've brushed. And I have no idea where it's come from or how it started, but I cannot physically go down the stairs until I've brushed. What's your gym split right now, bro? Well, it's definitely not a bro split, so I'm currently doing push-pull legs, run, so I do 4 days a week at the moment, so I'll alternate the days every week just because the schedule's a bit hectic. I'll try and keep the run consistent on a Saturday morning, so that's pretty like regular for me, but it's push-pull legs on the other days, whichever days. How do you stay healthy mentally and physically? So I use my journal, so I journal all the time and I diary plan and I use paper blanks, hashtag not sponsored, using paper blanks for like the last decade, so I've got a whole collection of paper blanks. That's kind of what I do to stay healthy mentally and physically. Obviously work out, eat healthy, meal prep, try and stay active and healthy, be mindful of what you're consuming. In fact, I've been sharing some of my kind of meal preps and recipes on my Instagram, so go and have a look at them. Let's see if there's anything else interesting on here. One book or podcast everyone should read or listen to. If any of my friends are watching this, they'll be creasing in a second because of what I'm going to recommend, but if you haven't read it or listened to it already, I would listen to Eddie Hearn's audiobook on Audible, which is called Relentless, 12 Rounds to Success, and the most random recommendation, but I'm a huge boxing fan, and I just found that book really, really enlightening because you get to learn a little bit more about his life, this like mega successful boxing promoter who's taken over his dad's business and just turned it into a multi-billion-dollar company. So I would recommend listening to that. There's lots of good life lessons in there, but it's also interesting to learn more about Eddie's journey through his career, how he got to where he is. So Relentless, 12 Rounds for Success. What's your proudest personal achievement? Proudest personal achievement is probably, I think becoming a good dad was pretty good, pretty special. Not going to get too deep and emotional at 10 p.m, but I think becoming a dad was pretty special. I think buying a house was also a big milestone. I think if I was to expand on this question, like professional achievements, earlier this year, I got a letter in the post from the Prime Minister basically saying he was going to put me forward to the King for a royal honour if I would accept. So obviously I accepted. Earlier this year in June, on the King's birthday, I was awarded a BEM, so Medalist of the Order of the British Empire, for my work in business and entrepreneurship. So that was pretty cool and a pretty proud moment. I mean, my laptop is about to die, so I'm going to pick one more question and then call it a night. It's a good one. So if you weren't a doctor, what would you be doing? And honestly, I think probably something creative, something a bit more like entrepreneurial, full-time, maybe something in the corporate world. I might have been a corporate lawyer, so fun fact, for those who have followed my journey, you will know that I have a postgraduate degree in law. I haven't sat the LPC yet, or the kind of licensing exam, and I might do that at some point. Anyways, we're going to leave it at that because I'm now absolutely exhausted. But thank you very, very much for watching. Give this video a thumbs up if you found anything useful, and if you haven't already, please feel free to subscribe. It would really, really mean a lot on this YouTube journey. So anyway, I'll see you guys in the next one.